When you have so many new pieces, what's the key in terms of during this month getting kind of that chemistry and kind of everything up to speed?
Yeah, so, it really started back in June. We were able to be on the court with them for 4 hours a week. And felt like it was really important, when you're building a house, you want to have a really strong foundation. And so we actually set aside that first week and took away from the court time to really spend some time in a team retreat and just talk about, the behaviors, the standards, how we want to show up for each other, build that connectivity, understand a little bit more about each other, our stories. And so that week was really, really, I think, key for us as we took the court later on in June, and then really hit the ground running. We had camps, so they were long days. We had camps and then workouts, and so there were long days for the young ladies. But it's been really good. I think connectivity is really, really important. I think with such a the uniqueness of our roster and how many that we were able to bring in out of the portal, and at the same time re-recruit the current players at Wisconsin. A lot of new faces, new staff, new players, and so it takes time, but the consistency in how we show up, and cultures, everybody talks about culture. We know it's not a one-time thing, and so it's how you continue to cultivate that environment for your players that's a place that they can feel heard and seen, and we can continue to connect on a much deeper level. And so it's been fun. It's been a really good group. I think they've all just really opened up their arms to each other, and I think we've had some really real conversations that have been pretty moving stories that we've been able to share with each other. And so it's been a lot of fun. We're putting together a puzzle and a lot of different pieces, and so just building that trust is essential for us to be able to have success on the court.
The moving stories, was that part of the retreat? Was that part of kind of preseason team meetings? Kind of how did that come about?
Can you say that again?
The moving stories, kind of, was that part of the retreat? Or?
Yes, so it was part of the retreat. We did some. It was pretty extensive. I mean, we talked about a lot of things over the course of a couple days, and just, I think for us as a staff to be really vulnerable and real with them is important because it kind of sets the stage for them. And I think as we went through the course of that and towards the end of the retreat, we just talked about some just things that we've gone through in life that's kind of shaped us, molded us, and made us who we are, and through our life experiences, things that we feel really good about, areas that we want to continue to improve on. And so just created a space for players to go as deep as they wanted, or just be on a surfacey level, and either way was fine. We were learning each other, but they dove right in, and I just think it was huge, and it elevated the floor that we started at in June because of the connectivity that we had in that previous week. And I know it was pretty moving for our players. They talked a lot about it, still do, for them to be so thankful and grateful for that time to have those conversations. It was pretty special.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the message to a player like Ronnie Porter coming back, or Destiny out of the portal? What was your messaging to those players in the portal?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Wanted to be as authentic and real as possible. I think for us, we had 3 non-negotiables. We want to have players on our roster that are going to help us be able to play in March. We want players that really love the game. Skill development's a big part of what we do because of our system, positionless basketball, and so having that IQ to be able to read and decision making is really important. And then number 3 was just the environment that we want to have in that locker room, and so just being really transparent. I always say as a coach, if I'm doing my job right, you're coming in as teammates, but you're leaving as sisters. And so how do you create that kind of environment in the locker room? And it doesn't just happen. And you got to really invest in creating that space for those players to continue to build and grow together, individually and together. And so it was pretty simple. This is who we are. This is what we're about. Both of them are pretty unique. I'll never forget talking to Destiny on the phone. She's like, Coach P, what is a girl from Queens, New York going to do in Madison, Wisconsin? I said, tell me what you think about Madison, Wisconsin. And she said, there's got to be a lot of cornfields, right? So I quickly, as we're on the phone, send some pictures of just how beautiful it is, and the isthmus and in campus. And she's like, oh wow, I had no idea. But I think with both of them, it's about relationships. It's about the people that you're going to be surrounded by, and feel that you're going to be, not only you're going to be able to grow on the court, but you're going to be empowered as a young female to really spread your wings and have success. And so just keeping things really real with them, I think, was really important. And that's just honestly been our process as we put together this roster.
With re-recruiting Ronnie, was that a hard sell, or kind of what was that process like?
We were kind of joking about it on the drive down here. It was really unique. I think when we got there, I mean, just like a day or two after I took the job, it was like, I think the portal opened. And so like we had a roster that we knew we needed to connect with, but at the same time, if we didn't get our, deep into this portal, we weren't even gonna have a season. And so I have so much respect for that returning group that just gave us so much grace and a space to really understand what we needed to do, initially as we took the job. But Ronnie was always just, I felt like she was always observing. She didn't say a lot. She was kind of a quiet young lady, and she was just an observer. I think, coming down here, she said she was a little nervous. I had no idea. But just thinking about, what direction her career was going to go. And so we had some interactions, talked about the same thing that I did with the portal young ladies, just who we are, 3 non-negotiables. This is what we're trying to build here. I think Ronnie's always been really passionate about the University of Wisconsin, and wanted to be there. She just wanted to make sure it made sense. So it was, I mean, pretty seamless, to be honest with you. I think just her observing, watching. She might have watched a few individual. I don't even know if we got around to the individuals in the spring. I mean, it was just like we had recruits, 2 or 3 recruits every day for, I don't know, like 21 days straight. It was just drinking out of a fire hydrant. But I think some of the returners were talking about, what they were feeling and experience, and I was really, really happy when she decided to come back.
Where do you feel like she's grown the most?
Yeah, I know where we're challenging her the most, and that's from a leadership standpoint. Obviously, she's got a really strong skill set. What an incredible story, right? For that young lady, and where she came from and where she's at now. And so a really cool, moving story, I think, for, the younger generation to see what hard work can look like, and discipline and dedication. But so she's got all those intangibles. But I think, as a quarterback of the team on that court, just the importance of being more vocal, being comfortable with being uncomfortable at times, and really using that voice. And so really challenging her to make sure that when people come in that gym, they know whose gym it is. And how do you assert yourself? How do you not only, take care of what you need to take care of as a point guard, but how do you bring people with you? There's always an opportunity to reach out to a teammate that's struggling or celebrate with, and we talk a lot about daps and high fives and what happens, the action between the action, and what are those moments like as a point guard as you're trying to get your team moving in the right direction. And so just really challenged her to get outside of her comfort zone and be more vocal, and she wants it, and I think she's grown a lot in that space.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, with your style of offense, a lot of your players who get downhill, attack the rim. And last year for Wisconsin, they had some pretty good post players. That wasn't always possible. What has a player like Ronnie done to improve her game, getting to her best?
Yeah, well, we definitely want to play in transition. And the girls have been working really hard. I mean, our strength and conditioning coach has done a tremendous job, just challenging them every day. It's cliche, but practices should be harder than a game, right? If you're doing your job right, and to play at the tempo that we want to play at, it's hard. It's hard every day. You got to build that endurance. But we talk a lot about EPAs, early pass aheads, the importance of being able to get that ball up quick and then attacking, trying to get a piece of the paint, and being able to spray it, depending upon where the help comes from. And so I think a lot of it's new for all of these players. I mean, it's a different system, different terminology. There's so much coming at them. But I think if you talk to them, they tell you they're having a lot of fun. we believe in positionless basketball, and so we want players that have a great versatility and a skill set that allows us to play that way. We don't want to put them in a box, and I think Ronnie's playing with a lot of freedom right now, learning how to trust herself and understand the reads in transition. And so, I don't know if there's just one thing I can point to. I just feel like she's grown in a lot of different areas. She was already pretty dang good. She's had a great career, and so credit to her. But I think she's embracing her staff, her system, and her teammates, and it's fun to have her out there. I think she's having a lot of fun.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about bringing Destiny in and the winning background that she had? How important is that kind of winning culture coming into this team?
Really important. I think we're in a space right now of, it's different for every member on our roster. So some of them, have that experience of winning and winning at a high level. Even Nikki, our freshman, to do what she did as a high school senior has been very, very impressive. And so some of them have that, some of them had it, but didn't have it lately. And so everyone's a little bit different, but I just think for our team right now, it's some of them learning how to win and what it takes, the discipline, the attention to detail. I think for some of them, it's really challenging them to get out of their own way and just to build confidence and empower them. And so everybody's in a unique situation, but I think a young lady like Destiny, not only is she a really elite player, she's mature beyond her years. And, she's one of those kind of soft-spoken young ladies, but when she talks, people listen. And I think she knows what it takes. She had a lot of success at Howard. She brings so much to the table beyond her skill set, but also her leadership and who she is as a young lady. So that was a huge pickup for us.
Obviously, when you're a first-year coach, you're just trying to assemble a roster. But kind of in a perfect world, what's your ideal balance of kind of high school versus portal?
Today?
Yeah.
Or next week? Or when do you want to ask this question? It varies, right? No, I think there needs to be a blend. Obviously, we want to recruit nationally. That's going to be important. We want to bring the best players that fit Wisconsin, to our program. There is definitely a huge premium on the state of Wisconsin. I think there's been a lot of great players that have gotten out of this state, so there has to be an emphasis there. And we've definitely made an emphasis there, which we're really excited about. But I think it's a blend. I think, ideally, I don't know if I have a perfect percentage. I think roster turnover, it happens most of the time at the end of the seasons. And so it's going to vary from year to year. But I think those freshmen are so important. I think that's where it's just a 4-year experience at a university is just a little bit different and unique. And so I think that's how you build traditions and you understand the history of a program and a university and everything that it has to offer. And so we put a huge premium on freshmen. We want to make sure they're the right freshmen, again, that fit our 3 non-negotiables. But I think every year you'll probably dabble with the portal a little bit, maybe 1 or 2, depending on how many scholarships are available.
I know you can't go into specifics, obviously, but you've had some success with putting that emphasis in state. Kind of, how do you go about kind of establishing those relationships as quickly?
Just backing up what we said at my press conference as a staff, just, being willing to get on the phone, invite coaches over to the Kohl Center, us getting out and, having a chance to see them play when we can. But it's all about relationships. It's really a people business, and it's about building relationships, and I think the consistency of that builds trust. I think, anybody that knows much about the University of Wisconsin understands what a great academic university it is, what an incredibly beautiful campus. We've had a lot of success in a lot of sports, and there's a number of them on the women's side. You look at women's hockey coming off a national championship. You look at the support for volleyball and what Kelly's done. It's there. I've said it in my press conference. It's like a sleeping giant, and so if you can get some of those players to see the vision and be a part of it, that's how you leave a legacy. And I look at it like this. Recruits have. You can either go where it's already been done and continue to be a part of something, which is great. It's not right or wrong, good or bad. It's just a unique situation. Or you can come here and really make an impact and leave a legacy. that people are going to be talking about for years to come. And that's a cool opportunity too. But it takes bold, I think, confident leaders and basketball players to take that step. And I think we've been really blessed to land the ones that we have so far.
Coach, you talked a little bit about drinking from a fire hose when you first got started. Now that you've settled in a little bit, has anything about this job, place, facilities, our campus surprised you? Anything that you didn't really expect coming in that, in retrospect, after a couple months, you've kind of learned about this place?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I've had time to reflect and answer that, but still drinking out of the fire hydrant. But I love it every day. Every day I can't wait to get to work and just feel really blessed and really having a lot of fun. I think we're going to do something that's going to be really special here. And everybody comes in fired up and promises you this, that. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but I'm really confident in what we're doing and how we're building this. We want to build something that's going to be sustainable over the years, and I think it all starts again in the environment in that locker room and the relationships that you form with your players and the culture that you form, and then people want to be a part of that. They see something's a little bit different. In regards to anything that's kind of caught me off guard, again, I don't know that I've really had time to reflect. Nothing that jumps out to me. I've been pleasantly pleased and excited. I think the support from the high school coaches and AU coaches, not only in the state but outside the state, and it's been really cool.
How have you seen, obviously you've been coaching in other states, but kind of from a distance seeing that Wisconsin talent, kind of how have you seen that evolve at the high school level?
I mean, it's been a minute since I've recruited the state of Wisconsin, just because we're in a different landscape in the SEC. When I was at Illinois State, we did have several players on our roster from Wisconsin, and there's still some AU coaches and high school coaches that are still around. But I think from a 50,000-foot view, obviously there's a lot of really talented players from the state. But I will say this, I think this is the same in all states. I think everybody's journey is a little bit different and unique. Some players just want to get out of state and they just want to spread their wings and they want to experience something different. They just grew up in this area, and so now it's like I want to see something else and feel like I'm away for college. And you've got some that are just like they grew up Badgers, and man, I bleed that, red and black, and that's what I want to be a part of, and I love the idea of staying close to home. And so I think sometimes, in recruiting we think it should be easier than what it is to keep in-state players home. I think there's a lot of dynamics that go into that, but you better believe we're going to work our tails off to make sure that happens.
You were mentioning the support that, different teams on campus, women's hockey, volleyball has had. How do you kind of build that level of fan interest that some of those programs have obviously done really well?
Yeah, well, number one, it's exciting to see that there is that interest in women's sports, right? It's been done in other programs, and so there's no reason it can't happen in women's basketball. I think a huge part of that is on me, getting out in the community, and just being available. Everywhere I go, I'm giving out my personal cell number to a lot of people, saying, hey, text me, let me know if you want to come to a practice. And so just being out and about, I think it's important for our players to be out and about. I always think, if you're going to create a family environment for those fans, that they need to know who you are, and who they're supporting. And so building those relationships with them is really important. I think part of it is, it's like I tell them, hey, we need to build this fan base now because it's going to impact recruiting. But on the other hand, I understand you want to put a product on the court that's going to be fun to watch, it's going to be blue collar, working really, really hard, and have success, and then they'll come. Where does that come together? It's probably somewhere in the middle. But I think for us to get out as much as we can and build those relationships, and our players to, just get out as much as they can as well, is going to be really important.
Can you talk a little bit about the staff you put together? Like, what were you looking for, and what is the staff like?
Yeah, super blessed, fired up. These guys are awesome, high IQ, just great human beings. They work really hard. They're as passionate as I am and feel as blessed as I do to be here. And so, we're very like-minded. I think our heart posture is aligned for, just creating an environment where our student athletes can thrive, not only on the court, but off the court and in their personal lives. And we always say, we want to compete for championships and be invited to weddings. And so we all align in that, space, that we want to help them be the best that they can be in all areas of their life. We want to challenge them, but we also want to support them. I think in this day and age, it's just hard to be a college student athlete with social media. As coaches and parents, you're like, get off social media. But then, just where we're at today with the NIL opportunities, it's like, get on social. There's so much pulling at them. And so, how do we create an environment that they continue to grow on and off the court is really important. But our staff, so Coach Bracy, my associate head coach, was with me at the University of Missouri, has some international experience as a player, really high basketball IQ, has done a tremendous job. McGee Man, he was with me at Mizzou for a year, came from Clemson, had a couple other stops along the way, started off as on Dawn Staley's scout team, so kind of fun. We got some SEC ties there. But again, just an all utility guy, really good with film breakdown, great relationships with the players, great eye for recruiting. I mean, I want the whole, just like with recruiting, I want the whole package. I want the whole package with each member of my staff, that we really align on. And so I've been very fortunate. Ariel Massengale played at Tennessee. She's from Chicago. Got recruited by a lot of people around the country, but was recruited by Pat Summit and went to play there and then played overseas as well, got drafted. So just a great, I think, mentor for a lot of our student athletes, young enough that she can still relate, but old enough that she's experienced and, understands the landscape of what college coaching looks like and the investment that it takes. Again, high IQ. And then my last assistant we just hired, I don't know if we've announced yet, looks like we have, was a former GA for me at Missouri, and then he left and went to coach on Mike Neighbor's staff, so he was at Arkansas, and we just brought him in a couple days ago. And then I've got a graduate assistant that was with me from Missouri. So, what was I looking for? I wanted to make sure, we were putting a staff together that made sense, that had understood what the landscape of University of Wisconsin basketball looked like, understood the importance of recruiting, building relationships, and the work that it was going to take. And I think I've surrounded myself with really, really high IQ coaches and just incredible human beings.
Carolyn Keeger was talking about how much she enjoyed being recruited by you back when you were at Iowa State.
She was trying to age me, huh? Let me get a hold of Carolyn. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but I remember that as if it was yesterday. We really had a great connection. Special young lady. I say young lady, and now she's, the head coach there at Penn State. But kind of funny when things go full circle. But really proud of her and everything she's accomplished.
What's it like now being back in the Big Ten, with your coaching peers being, players that you used to recruit?
Hey, we do not need to put an age or a timeline on this, all right? It's interesting. So I grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My sister played at Iowa for Vivian Stringer. Lisa Bluter was my head coach. I went with her to Drake to coach when Jan Jensen was a senior. And so there's that connection there. There's just so many connections all over the Big Ten right now. But when I took the job at Missouri, we were in the Big 12. We thought we were joining the Big Ten. We ended up in the SEC. But Missouri's in that unique location from a landscape that, I always felt like we should have been I don't even know if I should say that, but, we fit kind of in the landscape of the Big Ten based on location. But now look at the Big Ten. It's East Coast to West Coast, which, again, another reason why it's so great to play in this league, because these young student athletes get a chance to experience traveling around the entire country. And so that's a pretty awesome opportunity for them. But it's great to be in the Big Ten. I'm really excited. I got a lot of respect for these coaches. I think we've got some tremendous talent, obviously. So much success over the years in this league, and feel really blessed and excited to be a part of it.
Coach, do you feel like, and you mentioned kind of quickly the social media for players and how it's push and pull everywhere. Do you feel like you coach student athletes differently now because of the environment we're in, or have you evolved in that sense?
I guess, for me, I try to keep that kind of arm's length. I mean, I just really want to be authentic to who I am. I want to pour into their lives. I want to help empower them to be strong, confident females, and not only successful on the court, but in life. And, I don't think you can get, I don't think it's in anybody's best interest not to be just real and authentic and unapologetically you. I think there's a lot of coaches out there, there's a lot of players, and why not keep it real from the jump? And if it's a good connection, then awesome, and if not, that's okay. Because again, there's a lot of programs and a lot of players, and so I think just being really transparent about your values and what you want that locker room to look like, your style of play, who you are, what you're about, the right match is going to happen.
With transfer portal, revenue sharing, NIL, kind of what's your kind of approach to that when you kind of have now this financial element?
Yeah, it's definitely, evolving quickly. I mean, there's just, the landscape is completely different. And I'm sure there's probably more to come. But, at the end of the day, it really does come down to the people. And that part of it shouldn't change. And just the connection and the opportunity to lead, be a mentor, to be a teacher, to help guide and be a gatekeeper of your student athletes, right? So they can go on and accomplish everything that they hope to. And so, you do have to obviously evolve with times. But I think in regards to the coaching piece, I think it's really important that the people always come first, and how can you serve your student athletes and help prepare them to be successful in everything that they do.
I just have one follow-up. What does a successful first year look like for you in this program?
Great question. So for me, it's all about the connectivity that we create amongst our team. And I think when you build trust and alignment in that locker room in regards to how we want to show up every day, and just our work ethic, our discipline, our attention to detail, that's my focus right now. I think everything else takes care of itself. But it really starts with the alignment that you have with your players in regards to what your vision is and how you want to see that play out. I think you got to keep first things first, and we continue to build on that. And if we're able to stack days, day after day after day, the outcome's going to take care of itself. To me, it's all about the process. It's what you do in the dark when nobody's watching, how you show up when no one's around. Those things, those intangibles are so important. So, that's our focus. Win the day, stack the days, trust the process, lean in, alignment, connectivity, building that culture in that locker room and those bonds that allow you to have success on the court. X's and O's are a big part of it, absolutely. Having talented players, is that a big part? No doubt about it. But man, when you have that connection in that locker room and you have that sisterhood in that locker room, really special things can happen for you. And so we're going to control what we can control, and that's just on us every day, being the best version of ourselves that we can be. We learn, we grow, and we keep it moving.
With that connectivity with the retreat, is that something you've always done, or is that a new thing? Or
we've always touched on it, but I think we just took it to another level completely this year. I don't think it was ever checking a box. It's really who we were. But I think, with this generation, everybody wants to understand the why behind things. And so we just took a much deeper dive in regards to, just everything that we had talked about earlier, and really gave opportunities to talk about the why, to have more collaboration, and interaction within those meetings. And it was just really cool. I mean, a lot of times as a coach, when you sit back and you listen, you can learn a lot from your players. And so to create that space where they feel comfortable and confident enough to speak up and share, I think that's really where some powerful things can happen for you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate you guys.